All right, here is the fourth video for this bead along. Now, what I'm going to show you how to do next is the clasp, and there it is. Okay, this is going to be actually a three-part video. I'm going to teach you how to decrease and then do an added stitch on top and then slide the clasp on. Okay, so if you are doing your already existing working thread and your thread is already attached, I recommend that you always do just as if you were going to cut it off. Go around in some circles, okay, and make sure your thread is secure. And the reason that I do that is because the clasp is the weakest part of the bracelet. Okay, so you want to make sure that if the clasp breaks, it doesn't make the whole bracelet fall apart. So if you're not actually threading in a new thread, then go ahead and go and do your little circles and add in a thread. Now, when you do add your thread in or move your thread, I'm going to slide the video up a little here so I can get a little closer. There we go. Okay, you are going to not come all the way out of the end like you were doing before. What you're actually going to do is you're going to move it around and come out, and I'm going to flip this over so you can see. Normally your thread would come out of here if you're starting the row back. You're actually going to come out and put it back through the next bead, and what we're doing is decreasing. And so by doing this, we're going to actually decrease one step on this round. So once you've got your thread started or thread moved to the end, make sure this is where you would normally be coming out of on a down, that you've turned your thread around and you're going through that first up and coming out of the first up. Now what you want to do, because there's no actual pattern for this, is fill in. I am sure that if you have gotten to this point of buying this kit and actually doing this, that you have enough creativity in you to fill in the colors as they would have been in a pattern. So just if it's supposed to be red, just fill in red. If you're working on the other end and you see that there was a 1 there on the beads and you felt like you needed to add it in, go right ahead. Okay, you're going to go all the way to the end just like you would normally. And I'll show you how to go around again and make yet one more decreasing step. We're going to probably need 3. Okay, so I'm coming out of here. I'm going to flip my work just as if I was adding another row. And instead of adding a bead set here, what I want to do is I want to fill this down. So I'm going to move my thread in 1, over 1, over 1. And I'm going to pull it, and you don't have to follow the exact same path that I'm following, as long as you follow along and you grab both beads at the same time. So not only am I going to reverse the direction, because the thread was coming out just like this is, but out of this set of beads, but you're going to move it into this stack of ups. See how it's coming out of there? So now we're going to do the same thing again. We're just going to add 2, fill in the downs, go through the ups, all the way across, adding your colors. Okay, so this is how to decrease, and the process is the same whether you're doing single stitch peyote, double stitch, triple stitch. Doesn't matter what kind of stitch you're doing, the process is the same. Okay, and if you see right here there's a thread that's sticking up, just roll it a little bit, it'll tuck back in. Okay, so we have decreased 2 rows, but what ends up being 3 steps. So now I'm going to measure this. Now you measure from the tip here to the tip here, and you're just going to line them up along the ups. That looks perfect. Now because this stitch is kind of like a zipper where they're fitting into each other, you cannot just slide this across. We have to add that extra row on top. So I want to have you flip your work and move your thread one more time, but this time what we're going to do is we're going to move the thread to come out towards you to move it one more to come out the right way. Towards you from the upper, the first up that you have. Do you see that? Now it's coming out towards my body, towards me, and it's coming out the first up. Now, whatever beads you add now are not going to be seen. You do not have to match the colors. I often just recommend whatever bead you have the most of, or if you've only got a little bit of beads, you'll need 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 on this end and 14 on the other. Okay? So what you're going to do is pick up 2 beads, and this is very similar to what a square stitch is. You're going to go right back through. You're going to make a circle with your thread right back through those 2 beads. Now pull it firm, but it does not have to be perfectly aligned. You need a little bit of space in there so that the end piece will actually go through this space. So once you've done that, we're going to move to our next up. Now if you notice, I changed directions, and there's kind of a reason. Now I'm coming out away from me. This will make your circles easier. So you add 2 beads, and you go around and you do a circle again with your thread. So you come back in the opposite side. See, it's another stack on top of there. Now you go to the next one. So if you come out the first time towards you, then do your circle, the rest of them you're going to be moving away from you. And that's just the way the beads work. I'm not sure of all the math and scientific ways that it works, but it does. Okay, so you're going to go across and fill every single up with a secondary up stitch. Don't worry about the downs, just don't let your thread cross over where it's not supposed to be. And again, these don't have to be super tight tension. Okay, they do have to be lined up though. See how those were a little crooked and I kind of kicked them into way so that they were lined up. Okay. Next 2. Oh, see, almost forgot to move my thread. Can't add them there, I've already added them. And the last 2. Now, I personally will not do fringe with the same thread that I have done the work with or the ends with. I will do the work and do circles like I'm tying off and do ends, but I will not do the fringe. I always cut a new piece of thread and I always restart it. Okay? That is because, once again, the fringe catches easy. There are many times that your bracelet or a bracelet that you give to somebody will snag the fringe on a purse or a pair of keys or a pocket or something, and you'll lose the whole bracelet because they did it all in one thread. All right. So you saw I cut that off. Now, if you notice, there is an opening and there's a little flapper. Sometimes you'll have to open the little flapper a little bit. Bend it as little as you can. So if you have to bend it, just bend it a tiny bit. Then you're going to slide the beads, see that slot, right into this slot. Sometimes it's a little tighter, sometimes it's a little harder to do. Okay, now, once they're in there, this is a little bit more delicate and you have to be careful. Remember, the delicate beads are glass. If you slip or if you bang it too hard or something happens, you will break the beads, and then you either have to start over or repair it. What I usually do is take and use my pliers very, very gently, slowly close it almost all the way. Then I put my thumb here and my pliers here, and I squeeze it closed. Now, once this is done, if you think you need a little bit more, you can take it and put it on something and use a hammer, okay? That's kind of up to you. You want it as closed as you can make it, but it doesn't have to be super tight closed, super glued into each other, okay? Now, one of the nice things is it does move a little bit. And why is that nice? Because that gives a little give for the bracelet. So if you do that to both ends, okay, and then you're going to add on Now, some of you will have gotten a little flower, some will have gotten a little heart. Whatever you want to put on there as a dangle is whatever you choose to put on. Okay? So, this is called a jump ring. And what it does is it fits on my knuckle and it opens and closes jump rings. So, I open one and add two. I open one, and sometimes I can scoop them up. Usually I have to pick them up. It just means my hands get in the way more. And I add two. I personally, for myself and for when I sell, will always put one on the clasp and then put the clasp on a ring and onto a ring. The reason I do that is the more movement that you get, the longer lasting your bracelet will last. Okay, so you saw my little piles here. I open one. I add one side of the three. And I add one side of the three. And that is an easy... Oh, I think I was out of the camera. Let me do it one more time. Sorry about that. So, you open one. You add two. Okay, now you open one. You add part of the chain. And you add part of the chain. It is a quick way to make chainmail. And an easy way to not be opening and closing as many links. So, I've added one onto my little dangle. And again, if you want to add a crystal or anything else, you can. Okay, so now I'm going to add the dangle to the little chain. It's just making it adjustable. Now I'm going to add the chain to the bracelet. If you don't know the rule about jump rings, you always open a jump ring by twisting and twisting back just a little bit so it kind of closes. You never open a jump ring this way. It will ruin the integrity of the ring, the spring part, and they will break 20 times faster than if you do it the right way. And I prefer, and what you got in your kit is oval. And the reason is because the cuts are on the side. Chances are, even if it opens a little, it's not going to swing up enough for it to come off. If it's round, it often will come right down to the center of wherever the cut is, and often will separate even more. All right, so there is your bracelet. Now, the next video will explain how to do fringe. What I'd like you to do if you are going to choose to do fringe, which is what the kit is for, is to go ahead and add a thread onto any one edge, on a corner of an edge. It doesn't matter what edge, it doesn't matter how you add, where you add the thread, as long as it is coming out of a corner of one of the edges. I'll see you in the next video.